Peace, family. Welcome once again to another episode of Mosaic Entertainment Group Presents. Right now, I'm waiting for my guest to come in. Today, we'll be speaking to Mr. Brother Anthony Glover. All right. So, welcome, family. Once again, like I said, I wanted to welcome back to another episode of Mosaic Entertainment Group. Right now, I am definitely changing pace here, changing things up a little bit. Want to make sure that I give you something different and something fresh to look at, family. So right now, I'm just waiting for my guests to come in. I'd like to thank you all, first of all, for coming in and checking me out today. Um, Mosaic Entertainment Group is a production company that produces film, television, and stage plays. I also do what's called podcast. Um, I do what's called um, podcast storytelling. And with my podcast storytelling, I tell stories about the history of our people, contemporary, and things of that nature. So, as I was saying earlier, I want to welcome my guest, Brother Anthony, as he's effectively known here in the city of Phoenix. What's happening, my brother?
How you doing,
Just
brother?
want to make sure I got my volume all the way up. All right,
Can
good,
you hear
good,
me
good.
okay? Can
So,
you hear me okay? Am I good over there?
yeah, you good, man. You good.
Good.
It's a little behind. I guess it's because of the stream yard is how it's but I can hear you. You're fine.
Right, right.
All right, man. Thank you very much once again for coming, brother. I really appreciate it. Brothers and sisters and family out there in YouTube land and Facebook land, I'd like to introduce you to Brother Anthony Glover. All right, out of Phoenix, Arizona. Welcome, brother, to the show. I wanted to bring you on, man, because I was just discussing with the audience what Mosaic Entertainment Group does, but I'm also, which is entertainment more so, but it's also with a community, with a black community feel. So it's always with the community in mind, diaspora in mind. So I'm always telling stories from that perspective. But I also am very involved in the community. So a lot of my guests are now going to be much more expanded, and there's going to be people actually in the community that's out there getting it done, man. So of course, you and I go back a few years, so we know each other. I know what you're about already, but won't you go ahead and introduce yourself to my audience and tell us what you got going on right now, brother?
Well, man, like my good brother said, man, I go by Brother Anthony. My foundation is spoken word poetry. That led into me hosting different events in the city, and that led into me starting to get involved with the youth, particularly young men, young black men in my community. And I started that journey about 5 years ago. And if you know me now, you can tell that young men and mentoring young men is very much at the forefront of my passion. So some know me as a poet, some know me as a host, and nowadays I'm kind of taking full force with mentoring our young men in the community. So I do that in different ways, whether it's the mentoring program that I mentor with, Fight for Life, No Excuses, who I've been with for about 5 years now, and I just wrote a children's book. So that's another way I kind of reach out to the young men. So a lot of what I do today is pretty much based around contributing to building up our young men in my community and beyond.
Man, I tell you, man, that's something that I champion myself, brother. That's as a father of two sons, man. That's something that I sit back and I have, and as a matter of fact, as I was stating to my audience too, a lot of my work has to do with our community. One of my pilots that I'm shooting now, man, is about that. It's about a relationship between a father and a son, and the grandson. So it's always this relationship that I'm exploring with men, but especially with us, man, because I think and I'm sure you would agree, there's something that's missing. You know what I'm saying? We being ignored. You know what I mean? In the community, in the nation at large, we're being ignored. In the community, we're behind. We're under threat all the time. So, and quite frankly, and I'm just coming from a black man's perspective. We are hunted in a sense, man, and we're made to feel less than what we really are, brother. And that's something that, um, I think that work that you're doing with our brothers and the young brothers in the community is very important. So, can you go into that a little bit more? How'd you get involved, and what exactly are you doing with the young brothers?
Well. So far as first of all, salute to you, my brother, for what you just said. That was very powerful. We do have a void, and a lot of it is left to us, to brothers like me and you, who can recognize it and recognize how to improve it, to put in the work, to start making some changes. So thank you for doing what you're doing and helping me spread my message and my word with your podcast. So thank you very much. So I started my
Absolutely.
journey. I started my journey about 5 years ago when Fight for Life, actually the Sons Mentoring Program, that's what they went by at the time, asked me to come by and speak to the boys about poetry, self-expression, the arts. So I came through as just a poet, spit some poetry. I said, this is what I like to do to express myself and that and that. And then I left and I was like, hold on, man. I feel like I got so much more to give to these young men. I'm not just a poet. I could teach them. I got all kind of, I made a lot of mistakes and I can kind of teach them and help them not make the same mistakes. I feel like I can give them some more. So I started volunteering um, with this program a little more, during the year. And then eventually I ended up joining the team as a consistent mentor for the program because I felt like I just didn't want to stop
Mm.
at poetry. So I started my journey with mentoring young men about 5 years with Fight for Life, No Excuses. And then eventually that led off into me doing all kinds of things with the young men in my community in my city, whether it be them coming out to the horse ranch I volunteer at to help me, take care of horses and build things. That led into me building my own program, Useful Hands PHX, a 2-day camp
Yes,
where
sir.
I
Yes,
teach young men
sir.
how to do things with their hands. So I teach them how to use a charcoal grill. So they come out on one day and they prep their own food. They start their own light. They light their own fire for the charcoal grill. They cook their own food. They eat their own the food. So that's one day. Then it's the same thing that did the same day. They also learn basic auto care. So they learn how to change a flat tire, how to jump a dead battery, check all the fluids, identify all the components that make up a vehicle. Just know how to handle themselves when it comes to basic auto care. And then the next day they come
Mm.
back and they learn how to fish. I teach them how to put together a fishing rod, how to fish, what type of
Wow.
fish, what
Okay.
kind of bait, the philosophy behind fishing when it comes to patience, therapy. They can use it for a place of peace and, to reflect. And that same day, we also learn how to build planter boxes. So I can teach them how to use tools and drills and nails and drill bits and things like that. Wood, how to work with wood. So Useful Hands PHX is designed to empower our young men with increasing their value and their skills using their hands. So
Mm.
a lot of young men in my community that I've realized don't have fathers. So this was designed. Say they ride in the car with their mom, they get a flat tire, they can be like, "Hey, mom, stay in the car. I learned how to change the flat tire in Useful Hands PHX. I got this." Well, hey, mom, I'm gonna go ahead and cook dinner
Right.
tonight. I'm gonna bring the grill out. I got dinner. I know how to grill, mom. I know how to grill. You put me in that camp. I know how to put some on the grill. Well, hey, ma, you say you want to build a garden. I put together a garden bed for you. I made it. I learned how to build it, and I just want to empower their confidence and the value how they feel about themselves using their hands, and just on their journey of being a man, because these are things that's going to come in real handy as you become men one day.
Absolutely, man. And that's what I was sitting here thinking about. Like, wow, these are all skills that I learned as a man. I didn't learn these skills, as a young man. You know what I mean? I learned these skills as I was, raising children,
Well,
and going
who
through these
taught you
things.
those
You know
skills,
what I
brother?
mean?
Mind me asking.
Honestly, I got it from watching other people. You know what I mean? From maybe my boy had a flat tire, and I watched him do it. And that's how I pretty much figured out how to do it. So it was never that a man actually sat me down and literally taught me how to, do certain things, man. That didn't happen. You know what I mean? For a brief stint in my life, there was a man in the house, but he wasn't, my natural father. So I didn't have that, that tutelage. You know what I mean? I didn't have
That's
that.
exactly why.
So
That's
I had to
exactly
kind
why.
of learn on my. Say that again.
that's exactly why I designed this for young men who don't have those men in their lives. Because being in Arizona, this is one of the states that's considered a what they call it, a mountain pot transplant state. In other words, a lot of people move here from all over. And what I've noticed, what I've observed, and just being from here and working with young men, a lot of young men move out here with their single mothers. So they come out here with no fathers, and of course they don't have uncles all around because this is not their hometown. So I
Right.
designed this for young boys who come out here or who are just from here, and I try to serve as a community uncle. So I'm just a guy who's gonna be I'm an uncle figure to them. So I'm here when they need me to kind of teach them things that they
Mm-hmm.
might not have young men or they might not have men to sit down and teach them these things. So that's exactly why I built this. So thank you for sharing that, though.
Oh man, I had to, man, because it shows that it's in the name. It's in the name. Useful hands. So when they become men and they're raising families, this is something that they're doing automatically because as we know, things happen. You know what I'm saying? I've had blown tires. I had to jump, my car. I had to change oil. I had to, identify, and it came from mechanics, me messing something up and then going to a mechanic and then they showing me and me
Right.
just, keeping in my mind and then going through it so many times, having so many different crappy cars. Eventually, you start to learn how to do a lot of the basic things, and then the more complex things you can identify, but you can't fix because you don't have the proper equipment to do so. I'm at that point now to where I'm pretty efficient because I've been through it so many times. So
Yeah.
I'm at the age now to where my sons, I made sure that I told each one of my children when they started driving, because I have four drivers now. So I showed each one of them, this is how you change it, especially my girls. I'll pop the hood and I will show them each component of engine and what we need to look out for. Listen for certain sounds. If you're not sure, let dad know because I'll take a look at it and I'll be able to identify it because of my experience. So I think what you're doing is so valuable, brother, because they'll have those skills by the time they even have children to pass that down instead of learning on the fly.
Exactly, man. I commend you. So what you're doing, what you just got done saying, what you do with your children, is what I'm trying to do, which is introduce it to them at a young age. So when they become
Right,
26, 27, 30, they don't got to try to play catch up and learn on the fly. So what I'm doing today is just introducing them to these skills, how to work with fire and cook with fire, how to change the tire. It's an introduction camp. So everything is introductions and learning basics. So when you are a father, you don't got to like learn on the fly and learn from somebody just on the phone. So
right,
this is something. So I want to introduce it to them very early. So 'cause, I might teach them how to change a tire, but they might take that whole basic auto can and run with it, and they might become a mechanic because they found a passion with cars at a young age. Or
right,
teach young men how to use a chocolate grill when he's 13. He ended up growing up being a master chef or something because that's his passion. Because it's not just
right.
introducing them to things, it's about exposing them to different things. Because a lot of kids don't grow up fishing. You know, I just happen to be, country boy. I grew up on a country dad, man. My dad, I grew up in Louisiana and Arizona. So, back in Louisiana, my dad taught me how to fish at a young age. But a lot of people grew up in different cities where fishing is not really normal. So I would like,
Yeah,
just,
that's me. I grew up in the city, and that was not normal.
you from New York, right?
Right.
I know y'all went fishing in New York.
Nah, we wasn't doing that. We had beaches, the lakes were upstate, but we wasn't doing no poles, and so I had no clue about that at all. We had to drive to Connecticut to go to the beach in Connecticut to watch all the older guys in the family fish. But they never brought us over and said, "Hey, won't y'all?" You know what I'm saying? They just kicked it by themselves. I guess this is how it was in the mid '80s, late '70s, but that I've never learned. So what you not only teaching is valuable skills literally for manhood, you also teaching survival skills.
Yeah, so because you never know. I mean, we've seen this year has been a pretty crazy year, man.
Yes.
The toilet paper being out, and food was a lot of people was what they call it, taking about the food and whatnot. If you know how to,
Yeah, hoarding and stuff. Yeah.
I'm gonna go catch a couple fish. We're gonna be all right tonight. We don't I'm gonna go catch a fish tonight. We having catfish tonight. By yours truly, and I'm gonna put it on the grill because I know how to grill too. So you
Make
never
make it
know.
even better.
Crazy, man. So you never know when we're gonna need these skills, or not even just because of survival skills. Me personally, I like to fish because it's very therapeutic. It's my time alone. I can reflect. So when I'm out there teaching these young men how to fish, I'm like, no, it's not always about catching fish. Use your time to reflect. Think about everything you're going through. It's a good source of therapy as well. So you got to have good patience. It builds up your patience. So of course we're having fun fishing and building things and all that. But I also got to let them know like there's so much more than just grilling some food and some chicken on the grill. What you're also doing is something that can be therapeutic if you use it as a
Right.
way. When I'm a grown man and I'm in my backyard, my family's in the house and I'm outside and I got that me time, and I'm cooking for my family. That's very therapeutic to know that your family's gonna be eating tonight because something that you prepare for them. It's so much comfortable with grilling, man. It's not just cooking some good food and that's it. It's a lot of satisfaction and a lot of reward. It's very rewarding to have these skills to know that you can do these things. So these kids walk away feeling very empowered. Like, man, I know how to do this and that. I'm only 13. I could start a fire and all that. And we the mentor program
Man.
took kids. We took them camping 3 weeks ago with Flagstaff. So to see them out there,
Okay, yeah, I saw that.
yeah, they chopping on wood with an axe. They started a fire. Just doing things like that sticks with them. Like what? Wow, I'm a teenager and they already know how to do these certain things, survival skills and all kind of skills. It's pretty cool, man. It's very gratifying to have a hand in that.
Brother, it's just so amazing, man. And I said every time I see, the posts and stuff that you put on Instagram and on Facebook, I'm looking at this stuff, man. That's why I constantly comment. I mean, man, you don't. It goes. I understand it goes so much deeper than just throwing some meat on the grill. It goes so much deeper than working with your hands and learn how to do things, and you're teaching them life skills, man. How to contemplate, because a big part of manhood as well is being able to sit quietly and think. And if you're doing something that's edifying in the sense of fishing or building a fire or cooking dinner or something that allows a man to not only be in his element of providing, but it also gives you a chance to sit back and really think about things, reflect on how am I doing with my family, reflect on finances. Okay, where am I at with my finances, reflecting on where I want to be in 5 years. So what we do is men. So it
Yeah,
goes it goes so much beyond that.
what I do outside when I'm fishing, another one is marriage. Like that's my me time.
Yes,
Yeah, man,
yes,
especially as a married
yes.
man, you gotta have your own time. So when I'm fishing, I'm thinking about how I can improve on my marriage as a husband, as a father. So it's very good, And then another reason I would like to, mention is introducing these skills to the young men is to get over the
Hmm.
intimidation factor. A lot of men, never got around to learning how to use tools or working with fire.
Right, right.
And because let's keep it real, it can be a little intimidating. Some things can be a little intimidating working with fire, and that's why I don't judge a lot of men because for one, they never had a man teach them, and for others, it can be a little intimidating starting a fire and working with these tools and nails you never used before. It can be a little bit like, wow, that
Yeah,
stuff looks intimidating. I didn't want to mess with that. So I'm gonna go ahead and get
yeah,
fear real quick while they're young. Get over that fear, get over that intimidation. That way, when they can knock that out, they can move on to even bigger and better things because they got that out the way. So fire, yeah, I work with fire all the time. I can do all that. So let me move on to something else. So it's meant to knock the intimidation factor out very early so they can move on to bigger and better too.
yeah, man. That I could see that, man. I could see that where it kind of takes that edge off of learning something new. And then it's the group, right? Everybody's supportive, everybody's helping each other. I'm sure everybody's working with each other, but it's also teaching the young boy eventually how to be a man. And then that segues into your book. What made you write that book, man? That book, I know once that book came out, your whole world just said boom. You know what I'm saying? So,
They show me love.
what was the impetus for creating that book?
Say it again.
What was the impetus for you creating that book? Why did you do it? Like, what was the point?
So it's a few different reasons why, man. Because I had a vision of writing a children's book when I was about 27, and it was pretty much motivated by my daughter. I wanted to write a children's book that I kind of empower my daughter. It was about a little girl being so confident in herself because of how her daddy speaks to her. And I just never got around to writing. But as you know, we forward to today, and so much I do with the young men. And then, of course, with this pandemic, I wanted to find a creative way to reach out to the young men in my community and beyond my community. And like, what can I do to kind of just hit all kinds of kids around the world? You know, I can write a children's book. You know, pandemic or not, I can write a book, mail it, and still get my message without even being there. So during this pandemic, I spent a lot of time at home, like a lot of people. And I said, let me go ahead and get this children's book going. And you know, I decided to dedicate it for young men. And you know, I said, you know what? I do a lot of different things with young men. Let me find another creative way to do something to impact them. So that was something that motivated me to write this children's book. And man, it's they're showing me love, man, and it's really motivating me to keep on write another one.
You
Called
know what?
I Can't
What
Wait
does
to Be a
that
Man.
tell you though?
It tells me that
What
young
does that
boys,
tell you?
it tells me that what I'm doing is appreciated and it's very valuable and it's innovative because I thought that this was something that I would see some time ago, but this is the first time I've seen a children's book like this. So it's called I Can't Wait to Be a Man. So every page represents a lesson or a jewel that he received. So it's a young boy and he's talking to the reader. So every page represents a different day where he's practicing something that he learned from his dad or his uncle about what it is, you know, to be a man. You know, so one page he's taking out the trash, and it's like, you know what? Every day before I go outside and play, I'll make sure I take out the trash. That's called taking care of your responsibilities. And you know, my dad says taking care of your responsibilities is a big part of being a man. You know, one page you can see him opening up the door for his mother and his little sister. And it's like, I always open up the door for my mother and my sister or women whenever I have the opportunity. Uncle James says this is called chivalry, and chivalry is a good quality to have as a man. One page he's raising his hand in class, and it's like, you know what? I'm never ashamed to raise my hand because my Uncle James told me that a man is never ashamed to seek out more knowledge or get a better understanding. It takes courage to admit that you don't understand something. So I always raise my hand in class. So every page, he's telling the reader like, yo, these are things I practiced as a boy on my journey to becoming a man. Things that I learned from my dad and my uncle. So I put his dad and his uncle because you know, a lot of young men don't have dads, but they might have an uncle or uncle figure. So I put
Might
his
have
dad
an uncle,
and
yeah.
something like, yo, Uncle James is like my uncle Josh. You know, my uncle James, you know, they teach me things. Well, that's just like my dad. So every page is a lesson. It was a nugget that the young reader that can take away and like, wow, you know, you can take that all the way to a journey into becoming a man. At the end of the book, I have a whole glossary of key terms of what I want these readers to remember, or at least use as a reference. You know, like integrity, um, um, accountability, respects, positivity. These are words I have at the end of the book for them to memorize and get familiar with, so they can take that with them on the journey to manhood.
Man, bro. I'm sitting here and I'm thinking to myself, I know you're aware of what you're doing. I know you're aware of what you're doing because you created it, right? I don't know if you're aware of what you're doing. You know what I mean? Like, and that's why I asked, what was the impetus for it? Or, I'm sure it's doing well for you because what you're doing is you're giving these, not only are you giving these young boys and these around the world, because I saw some photos and it wasn't just black boys, because you didn't just, I noticed you were very I think you were intentful and it was intelligent of you to, even though to show the characters as being black, you didn't say black man. I can't wait to be a man. You know what I'm saying? So that translates over everything, man. And what you're doing is you're giving these, and by the images being black, You're
More.
giving so much confidence to our young men that 10 years from now, we ain't got to worry about them filling up the prisons. We ain't got to worry about them being baby daddies. We ain't got to worry about that because at 6, 7, and 8 years old, they was getting these life lessons and constantly being affirmed all the time to where now they're confident. You can't really throw them off because they now they know because they got all of these lessons. I mean, that's a seed, brother. That's a seed that's gonna you'll see it
That's it.
germinate, you know what I'm saying, in years to come, man. You'll see it. I guarantee it. I
That's it.
guarantee it, man.
Like my brother Bilal says, man, it's about planting seeds. So right now,
Yes.
they might read a page and see a young boy that looks like him, or a young boy like him taking out the trash, and he's proud that he's taking out the trash. Like, yeah,
Hmm.
that's a seed being planted. Like, wow, this little boy, he's happy that he's not complaining. He's taking out the trash. Like, I'm handling business. So every day when he's thinking of that, and he's taking out the trash. He's like, yeah, this is what I'm supposed to do. Take care
Hmm.
of my responsibilities. When he's raising his hand, he's remembered that book that he read. I can't wait to be a man. And like, yeah, he was proud that he was raising his hand. He wasn't embarrassed. I mean,
Hmm. Hmm.
it takes courage. It takes a lot of pride to put the pride aside to be like, yo, I don't understand something. Let me raise my hand. So
Right.
planting seeds. You might not get to see the actual growth for these young men become a man or teenagers, but the seed was planted today when they read the book
Right.
and they learned these skills and useful hands, kids, text. These are all seeds that were planted in their minds at a young age, and over time, their journey through manhood is going to start blossoming. So when they're a man, it's already going to be blossom. Rather than trying to plant these seeds as a man
Yep.
and trying to play catch up. And it can happen, but it's a little more harder. I mean, there's a few things I learned as a man that I didn't learn as a young child. I didn't really get on
Absolutely.
my financial literacy has never been the best as a young man. But as I become a dad, a husband, I'm improving my financial literacy a whole lot more. And I
Hmm.
wish I, you know, took it more seriously way back. So now I'm planting all these seeds and learning all these things, but I could have learned them a long time ago. So it's nice to have somebody
Right.
give you these introductions as a kid. Teaching in the program, we teach the kids stocks, credit, how to use credit cards and build your credit up and invest in entrepreneurship. I'm
Man, that's a big one.
33. I started, well, I turned 34 the other day, but I'm 33 and I just now started my business. This is my first time
Happy
being a
belated.
business owner. So, what's that?
Say happy belated.
Thank you, brother. So, at 34, 33, 34, this is my first time being a business owner. And I'm loving it, man. Like,
Mm.
selling books and teaching young men how to do things off of a business that I created. I'm like, wow. I wish I took this entrepreneurship thing as a little more serious a long time ago. You know,
But you know what? The time
right,
is right, though. The
right.
time is right, though, man. It's right. Especially, I'm saying, especially for brothers like me. You know what I'm saying? I'm slightly older than you, but um, brothers like me who are almost half a century years old, we still need that. Like I find, on this side of things, I'm seeing it as, wow, I could just see how this will germinate and grow and become something 10 years from now, 15 years from now, but also how it helps now because what it helps me with, and I'm gonna just be transparent. There was a time early on in my fatherhood journey, I guess you could say that I rejected it, man. I didn't like it. I didn't like it. I didn't want the responsibility. I didn't want it. You know what I mean? And it showed. You know what I'm saying? It showed. I never let my kids really see it as far as I think, but you never know because your kids see more than what you think they do. So I'm just reacting off of things, man. But where it affected me, man, is in my ability to think clearly. So it affect my finances. It affect job performance. It affect the way I paid my bills because I hated the fact that I had to give up money to pay, this and that. And on such a continuous basis? When is it going to be for me? You know, so my whole attitude, this is about 15 years ago, 15, almost 20 years ago when my children were real small. That was my attitude, man. You know, mad at my wife because I felt she wasn't doing enough. And, you know, what's going on? I didn't spend no time looking at me. You know, I didn't spend no time. I didn't find joy or pleasure in being a husband and a father. I didn't find joy and pleasure in working hard, you know, for my family. So we suffered for a while because of that until, you know, it took falling on my face so much to realize that I had to start accepting and start embrace this role. Because if I don't, everybody's life gonna be ruined. So what you're doing is you're putting that in them already. In a sense, what this is doing is what your book is doing is training up a child in the way that it should go. And when it's old, it won't depart. You know, it won't mean that during that middle time, you know, the child won't make the mistakes and bump his head, and because the lessons got to sink in. You know
Right.
what I'm saying? By children, they do it by repetition because it's fun, it's repetition, it's daddy. They thrive off of repetition. But
Right.
as they get older and they're more influenced by the outside world, it takes a little more of the parent to step in and start, you know, do what they can to remind the child. But at the same time, you got to do this too. You got to do this because you got to see if they're going to get the lesson. Sometimes you got to let them fall on their face. But what you're giving them, brother, is that confidence. And by the time they get to that point, they're going to embrace their manhood. They're going to embrace the fact that they're fathers. They're going to have pride in that, especially as this particular book grows into something else. Because I know it's more coming. I know there's more in there. You know what I'm saying? So it's going to be a constant thing. I already know. So as long as these young men are constantly reinforced throughout, you know, their childhood and throughout their preteen and teen years, we keeping young brothers out of gangs. You know what I'm saying? We keeping young brothers out of prison. We keeping young brothers from having babies as teenagers. We keeping young brothers enterprising and thinking. Um, and last but not least, that protection, right?
Yep.
We got to, you know, I'm sure that's a piece and a component in that too, where providing and protecting is the basis of manhood for a
Protection.
family.
Protection. Self care. That's one thing that I feel like we lack about you know, a message that we give to our young men, just us as people. How important self care is. Taking time to yourself, um, you know, to reflect and do something that's therapeutic. You know, that's why I really enjoy teaching kids how to fish and things like that. Like, you got to have something in your life. Because trust me, right now you're a kid, you might not be thinking about self care and therapy. But, you know, when you're a father and when you're a husband, and, you know, walking around
Mm-hmm.
with your j.Shoulders when you got 4 kids that drive, you know what I'm saying? And things like that. And you got to go home and you got kids and a wife, and you're going to need something where you can kind of just step aside and do something that you enjoy that's also therapeutic.
Yeah,
Because, like, you know how it is as a father and husband. It can be a lot. A lot of your life is revolving
it's
around
hectic. Yeah,
protecting and taking care of your wife or your kids, either or. So you got to have some time to yourself. Take care of yourself because it's going to be real hard protecting and providing for your kids and your wife when you walking around empty. So
right.
things that can fill your cup up, your own cup up, because you can't pour out of an empty cup. So I really want to tell these kids, you know, do something that satisfies you, that fills your cup up. You can't be walking around pouring out of an empty cup. Take some time to fill your cup up. Take care of yourself because you'll be much more valuable when you do things like that for yourself. And I'm sure you relate as a father. You know, longer than I've been a father with more children, how it can be. You know, they take up a lot of
Mm-hmm.
energy, a lot of effort, and you know it can drain a lot. You know, it's a beautiful
Man,
thing it can be a beautiful thing to be a father and a husband, but it can drain you out a lot. So you got to do things to fill yourself up.
right. Again, man, it goes back to where we wish we could have learned back then and what we learn now. So everything that you're talking about, man, I've learned as a husband and a father. So I didn't get those skills, at the beginning. So it's like it's a lot of bumping your head against the wall, and I had to learn how to balance myself, in dealing with work. You know what I'm saying? Because remember, while you thinking about your wife, while you're thinking about each one of your children and what they're involved in their lives, you're also an employee if you're working for someone. So you have to also maintain your performance at what I'm saying, at your job. So you have to think about that. How am I going to maintain this? Is this a place I want to be long term? But that balance is so important. I'm so glad you said that, man. Teaching them young men how to take time for themselves, because that's something I didn't do. I was working 80-hour weeks, man, to take care of my family. So my time was on the road. You know what I'm saying? Going from job to job. That was my time. But my passion is writing. My passion is reading. My passion is learning. My passion is growing. My passion is teaching. My passion is love. So how was I not able to? I wasn't able to give myself any of that because I was constantly on the go, because I didn't understand the balance. Once again, that's a valuable tool where these young men have to learn balance. That's an absolute must, because if you don't, you're going to either leave your family, you're going to get sick, you know what I'm saying, and become useless. You may turn to drugs and crime or other women, outside influences, women, or hanging out in the street. You'll start doing things that are counterproductive, that are maladaptive to what you really are about, because you haven't learned how to balance that. It's pressure, and I don't think, it's, as a man and as a father, as a husband, you're up on 10 all the time. There is no really letting your guard down at all. Because that's the responsibility you assume. The ones that's relaxed and chilling and happy and smiling is your wife and your kids. And I've learned to even not resent that. I used to even resent that, brother. You know what I'm saying? Like, they chilling while I'm out here working. Because I didn't understand. You know what I'm saying? So I bumped my head against them. So everything that you're doing, laying such a foundation, man, for these kids, for these young boys to embrace their true authentic selves, and to find pleasure in being a protector, find pleasure in being a provider. That way you're gonna get they're gonna stand out amongst the other kids that don't have that. So they're gonna have the best choice of the best women, right? Because all of that, just like a woman who knows herself, who's in touch with herself, she stands out above other women regardless of her size or whatever like that. So it's the same thing for men. A man will stand out if he's in tune with himself and he's confident. So everything you teaching, you is complete manhood from top to bottom, mentally, physically, spiritually, and financially. And we can't ask for anything better than that, man. That's what we need from our men in the community.
We do, man. Because if you think about it, we somewhat of a war right now. Right now, we've always been at a war. Because just like how me and a lot of brothers are pouring into them positively to influence them positively, there's another side.
Mm-hmm.
There's another side where they're being negatively influenced and negatively guided. There's a whole lot of young boys right now who are on the path thinking that what they're doing is right because there's somebody who they
Mm-hmm.
to or are influenced by is guiding them. Unfortunately, so it's up to me, brothers like me, like yourself, to glamorize or somewhat make look like being, because being a man is, to me, being a man is cool. Taking care of your
Mm-hmm.
responsibilities, taking care of your kids, respecting people, being a gentleman, doing what you got to do. That's cool to me. So when these young men
It's
see a
pleasurable.
man
I love it.
taking pride, you see a man taking pride in taking care of responsibilities, like, yeah, this is what I'm supposed to do. A little kid might look at you, he might think the word of Jermaine, but when he sees Jermaine, feeling good about taking care of responsibilities, responsibility. It's like, wow, that's what it is. When I see Brother Anthony smiling and being happy and proud about being a father, man, that makes me look forward to being a father. Man, I want to be like that. Instead of saying, wow, you know, so and so selling dope on the block or talking about what he does to women, they might think that's cool. So it's two different sides to this. So we at a war, man. We at a war right now. So we need a lot of soldiers to come out into this war, get on the front line, and participate in this war, which is helping building up these young men because they are our future leaders.
Brother. I couldn't have said it better, man. That I couldn't have said it better. And as you were saying that, I was thinking of the '70s. I was thinking of the '70s and how how we went from that that man and that being home with their family in the '50s and '60s and taking care of everything to the '70s where it was like to hell with it. You know what I mean? So I think we went through that struggle so long, man. Brothers just we gotta we just broke and the dominant society was able to come in and kind of break that up even more, man. So the young boys in the neighborhood was looking for the enterprising young dude on the block, the pimps, the hustlers, you know what I'm saying? The quick money getters. They became more attractive because there wasn't no daddy at home. There wasn't nobody, they was either strung out or they left. A lot of those men was leaving, in the '60s and late '60s and '70s. They was leaving. They was even getting strung out on drugs. They was leaving, not taking care of their family. So or because they couldn't work. A lot of people say, "Oh, the men were just leaving," but if you examine why the men were leaving, what was happening in the society, especially the '70s. So I said all that to say that we have to start making being a man, being a provider, being a protector, being a producer attractive again. We have to make that fun again. We have to make that, I hate to use the word sexy when you're talking about children, but we have to make that alluring again. That guy on the corner that's making the fast money, yeah, 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 but where's that going to get him? You know what I'm saying? Where Mr. Johnson been married to his wife for 50 years. He has a business. He has his grandchildren. They come over. Everybody. I'm at that stage now where I'm looking at legacy. I want the grandchildren coming over. I've come to the point where I found such pleasure in being in this position that I could not imagine my life being any other way but this. You know what I'm saying? So
You said the key word too, man. You said a key word. You said legacy, man.
yes,
That's a
sir.
word. That's something that a lot of us don't think about at a young age. But when you become a man, legacy is one of my favorite words, man. My wife will tell you, man. A lot of what I do, I know a lot of what I do is my passion. It helps a lot of
Mm-hmm.
people. Oh, that's amazing because that's why I do it. But my wife always reminds me, and people remind me, like, man, you know what you're doing, right? Like when you're an old man who's long gone, everything that you've done is gonna stay here. Like your legacy is not going anywhere. I think that's very powerful. Um, one of my goals in life, man. One of my goals in life. I'm looking forward to being like an old dude, man, in Phoenix. I'm talking about 70, just an old man, and to have
Mm-hmm.
like a grown man come up to me like, "Yo, brother Anthony," or Uncle Anthony, Papa Anthony. I'm gonna be old by then. I might not be going by brother Anthony.
Nah,
But
not then.
yeah, they might by then 2050, so they might be calling me Grandpa Ant or something like that. So they might know what. You might not remember me, Grandpa Ant, but I learned how to fish, grill, all kinds of stuff from your camp back in 2020, man. This is my wife and kids, and I'm teaching my son how to fish next week. And I want to let you know, I learned from you back in, I want to be, that would be so, like if I'm an old man and I have grown men in my community, in my city, come up to me and tell me that I've helped them in the past, that, translated to them being a man, or, man, that, that would mean the world to me, man. So that's what
Man, there's no better feeling than that. Yeah, man, there's no better feeling than that, brother. I'm getting goosebumps just thinking about it.
if you just
But
imagine that, man, like
there's one word for that.
Mr. Shoulders, man, like, I saw you said something in this interview you did one day in 2021, and it stuck with me, man. And I took that with me on my journey. And I want to let you know, man, you said something that stuck with me way back. And stuff like that, man, you can't put a price on it. Yeah.
No, you can't, man. It's the testament to a life well lived. You know what I'm saying? It ain't about perfection. It's a life well lived. You know what I'm saying? If you serve other people, that's a life well lived, man. And that's something that's my desire too. That's my desire too, to make it to an old enough age to where something that I'm doing now and have done even a few years ago, because I'm still on my journey. You know what I'm saying? I'm not just starting right now. I've started this journey 10, 15 years ago, but like 10 years ago. But this is something that I live for. And now that I'm seeing my next generation. I'm a grandfather. You know, my grandchild is 6 years old. So, thank you. So I'm looking at her and I'm like, yeah, when she's a certain age, I've been blessed to see you. I've been blessed to see you. And I'm still young enough to possibly see you duplicated. So now I have a great grandchild that sees me still living by my example that I set so many years ago. Legacy. And the word that I want to impart upon you on that, man, is also immortality. How a man achieves immortality. So what this is how we become gods.
Break that word down to me, man. Immortality. Break that
I
down.
immortality. Yeah, man. With immortality, it's not about you physically living forever. You live forever you live forever here in people's minds and hearts. So you never die. You never die. That's why today we still talking about Moses. That's why today we still talk about Frederick Douglass. We still talk about Harriet Tubman. We still talk about Sojourner Truth. We still talk about these people who've died. I mean, Frederick Douglass died in 1895, man. Over 100 and, you know, 25 years ago. Okay. All right. So, but we still talking about this man. Why? Because of the lives that he's affected, the way he lived his life. He lived a life well lived. He got beat up. He got abused. He was a slave. He traveled the world. He was a spokesman. He was the most popular and most photographed person of the 19th century, who came from the dirt. And we still talking about this man. That's what I'm talking about. So what we're talking about is 100 years from now. Okay, because books was written in 1895, so I'm sure books will be written, in 2121. You know what I'm saying? So 100 years from now, you know what I'm saying? Somebody's gonna pick up your book, Immortality. You laying up treasures not only in heaven, but you laying them up on earth. You laying them up on earth. Some ancestor did something 1,000 years ago, so me and you can have this conversation right now. You see what I'm saying? And they're nameless to us. You
There
know
it
what I mean?
is.
So can you imagine? So I'm taking it there spiritually because it goes beyond anything we even see. You're transcending space and time. You are achieving immortality by establishing your legacy. And your legacy is established in righteousness because you serving the people. So you walking around with the Christ spirit, brother, and you serving the people. You serving these young men who happen to be young black men. Okay, we gonna need these young brothers 10, 15 years from now, and their minds gotta be right. So what you planting right now is gonna come to bear when we gonna need them to go to war for us when we're old. We gonna need those young lions to get out there, and their minds are gonna be right, and they're gonna be raising other young lions. So by the second half of this century, we're not gonna be where we are right now. We're gonna be in a total different position just by the work that brothers like yourself and the other brothers in Useful Hand Phoenix are doing, man. So once again, I'm seeing the value in it 100,000,000,000% because as a black man, as I said, raising young black men who are now in their ages of young, an 18-year-old and a 21-year-old, so they're right at that point, man, where they're making decisions about their life and they're trying to figure things out. And I always tell them, you are not alone. Or I'm just come knock on dad's door and I'm right here. You got your example of what to be and what not to be. Right under your roof. You know what I'm
Nah, that's
saying?
it.
So
Hopefully they learn from both.
yes. Learn more for how learn more from the times I made you mad because I didn't come through. So when you become a man, that's gonna be your thing. I got to come through. My children respect time more than I do. They respect time more than I do. Like they get mad if they have to go somewhere with us and we show up late. They get pissed because they've learned to respect time because they spent so many years seeing me show up late for things. You see what I'm saying? So these are lessons that that they've gleaned that I see that my boys are moving on. And my daughters, I have two daughters too, and they're at a point in life. The older one is already has her own little family and is living her life in another state. But you're still dad. You're still daddy to them. That's never going to change. When your little girl is 25, she's still going to be calling you daddy, especially if you're doing your job right. My oldest daughter, we speak incessantly, at least 2, 3 times a week. You know what I'm saying? And she's off in another state living her life because I established a relationship with her when she was younger. Where I made mistakes is with my other daughter. There were issues, you know what I'm saying? But those were the times where I was struggling. So as your kids get older, you see everything, brother. You see where you've soared to the clouds, and you see where you fell flat on your face. So even raising children teaches you lessons, man. You know what I'm saying? And it shows you things, and you never, ever, ever stop. You're not going to stop being dad no matter what till you in the grave. That's it. And then it ain't going to stop because, once again, legacy. You've established something with them that's going to stay with them. So dad is always present.
Infinite, man. Infinity. It don't stop. Ain't no ending to it, man.
So that's what I learned, man. I just embrace it. So, brother Anthony, I thank you so much for coming on my show. It's been an absolute pleasure. You know what I'm saying? I've been thinking about it for a long time. I don't know why I waited so long, but I think this was the right format, and I think this was the right time. And with the publishing of that book, brother, that set it up for me. I was like, I gotta hit this brother up, and I start seeing how things are rolling for you. I'm like, man, I gotta get in before it gets to the point to where I can't reach this brother anymore.
Well,
So,
coming back already, man. I'm already looking forward to coming back, man. Now you maybe want to do something else to give you a reason to bring it back on, man.
hey, man, I already got a reason to bring you back on. I'm connected with a brother in New York who does similar work with young people in the community, man. And it's a cat that I grew up with off and on. But time and space, you move away, things change. I see him 30 years later on social media changing the world, brother. So I think I want to have you on with him so we can all three of us can have a discussion, man, on manhood. Go into a little more because he goes into a little more of the mental health aspect of black men as well. So we could have that conversation. So I definitely want you to come back. So please tell, even though I have your information scrolling on the bottom there, still please tell everybody where they can find you, how they can purchase a copy of that book, and what else you got coming up with your organization.
Absolutely, man. My children's book, I can't wait to be a man.com. A lot of people ask what age range is for. I say infant to about 9 to 10. But I've seen a 12-year-old reading and say he like it too. So hey, you can take that. But I can't wait to be a man.com. That's where you can purchase the book. If you're interested in my day camp, where the young men learn hands-on training, that's usefulhands, phx.com. I have a website for that as well, where you can book a weekend with me, and that's how that works. You book a weekend with me. I'm on Facebook, Instagram as Brother Anthony, Brother with no E, no R, Brother with a A, Brother Anthony. That's how you can find me and contact me on social media. I love to, build with the community. I consider myself a friendly dude. So, hit me up. Hit me up.
All right, man. Hey, Phoenix. We looking at somebody right here, man. Pay attention. Give them their flowers while they here. Don't sleep. This is a brother that's making a mark in here, and it ain't and it's all love, and it's all about teaching. It's all about growing, man. I know this brother, and I know his heart, man, and it's beautiful, and I'm just so thankful that he spent some time with me, man. So thank you so much, brother. Everybody, hit that like button, hit that share button. Go ahead and share this. I'm also going to be posting this on Facebook and my other social media. So thanks again for joining us, brother Anthony. Thanks again, family, for checking out the latest episode of Mosaic Entertainment Group. Join me next Friday, 10 a.m. for the next episode. And brother, best believe I'm gonna have you back. All right.
All right, brother.
Thanks again, man.
Have a
All
good one.
right. Enjoy your night, brother. Thank you. And say hi to the family for me.
Yes, sir. Will do. Will do.
All right. Thank you.